Hello and welcome to Advertisers Watching Ads. My name is Tom Ollison. I'm the founder of Automated Creative, and this is a weekly show where brands watch other brands' ads.
All that effort for a slightly cheaper burger? I don't know.
If there was a bit more of a gamification element, then fine. Almost like a Pokemon Go kind of element, fine.
It might have been targeted at teenagers who wouldn't know that, but then they're not going to know Back to the Future either.
No.
We are brought to you as ever by our partners Contagious. So thanks so much, guys, for helping us choose the innovative ad this week. But before we see the creative, let's meet this week's guests.
Hi, my name is Gus. I'm an Associate Creative Director at Tank Worldwide, based in London.
Hey, I'm Sam. I look after the Goodfella's pizza brand.
Hi, I'm James, Marketing Performance and Content Lead at Haleon.
What a panel. Let's see this week's ads.
Vi har öppnat tidsportaler till våra bästa deals genom tiderna. Hitta dem på dealsstackintime.se.
On a scale of 1 to 5, how many votes would you give it? 1, 2, 3. A 1, a 2, and a 2. James, can you help give the audience a bit of background?
Yeah, sure. So from what I understand, inflation's rising. So obviously people are feeling the punch with the cost of living. And every year, historically, McDonald's have a promotional period after the holidays. I think they do it in most markets, but they definitely do it in Sweden. They do it in the UK as well for Blue Monday. So I think there's a bit of a historical, we always do a promotional kind of ad or campaign at this part of the year. And I think this ad is meant to take us back in time a little bit to maybe when things were a little bit better, cost of living wasn't as bad as it is now, maybe pre-COVID. This is just taking us back to cheaper times.
One thing I don't understand, or not mega clear on, is how it actually works, right? So you have to go to Google Street View and you have to find a poster that has a deal from yesteryear, and then you have to go to the website. Did anyone work out quite exactly how you get this cheap McDonald's?
Not really. On first watch, I just assumed that for a week, they put their prices back to that. I didn't quite get it. And then, as you say, then you realise it's a bit more complicated than that.
There's a campaign website, but this basically says this isn't running anymore.
From what I can kind of gather, this is a little bit more of a data collection exercise, because you're effectively saying, look, there are deals out there to be had. Come to our website. Let's have some data in exchange for a 10 krona cheeseburger. The user journey of this campaign is so convoluted and so complicated. It doesn't really want to make me get involved. If there was a bit more of a gamification element, then fine. Almost like a Pokemon Go kind of element, fine.
Definitely a big step away from what McDonald's normally do in terms of ad campaigns. They're not very so digital in mind. And I think getting involved in this area is very interesting. Whether they've kind of nailed it with this, I'm not sure, but it's definitely an interesting, a positive step in that sort of direction.
It's difficult because it's a Swedish market, as you say, and I guess I'm judging it against things they do in the UK. But the reason why I've always preferred their advertising over Burger King is because they very much focus on that emotional benefit. And as marketeers, we're brought up to understand that emotion sells and emotion drives loyalty. So that's what they do. Whereas Burger King focus on it's a flame grilled burger and it's got more beef in it than theirs. And they don't focus on that really. McDonald's, they go, if my daughter carries on singing the boom, boom, latest advert, she's driving me insane. But that's what they do. They get in your head from an emotion. And this is very, here's the product and here's what it might cost you. And there's the weird Back to the Future reference thing going on. There's a whole branding of it's odd. It's just odd.
From one perspective, I believe that McDonald's often buy the same out-of-home properties, and they have done for years, right? They do a lot of out-of-home advertising. So if you see a McDonald's ad in real life, an out-of-home ad, I suppose you could get your phone out there and then kind of go back in time and you're in front of the ad and you're spending time in front of the ad. Possibly an element to make it a little bit easier, but then the follow on from that, the user journey after that is really complicated. I'm struggling to find out who this is really targeted at, because Back to the Future is like 40 years old. So if this is a younger audience, they probably don't even get the reference.
All that effort for a slightly cheaper burger? I don't know. I mean, maybe if it was free, it would have probably get a lot more sort of volume, a lot more traction, a lot more voice and interest. You could do something that, group-based activity. But for a cheaper burger, that's a lot of effort. That's a lot of time putting in that.
James mentioned, I know before we started recording, about that McDonald's have got a fairly new competitor, I think you said, James, in Sweden. So, and that one thing they're not going to be short of is data, right? So they're going to be going, who's going to Max Hamburger, if that's what it was called, who's not coming to McDonald's. And that's probably who this is targeting, but I'm still not clear who it is. And I still don't think it does anything to bring those people back in the long term. They might come back for that one deal, but again, I'm like a dog with a bone with the emotional benefit, but they're not bringing them back in for the longer term. It's a lot of effort, to everyone's point. It's a strange promotion.
It doesn't feel like a McDonald's ad to me.
No.
So there's no jingle at the end. There's no I'm loving it. There's a small logo at the start, small logo at the end, but everything else doesn't feel like it. Personally, I would, if we're going with a slightly nostalgic theme, and the Google Maps dates back to, I think they said 2009. You can go back to the Google Maps and have a look. I don't know, but that feels about the same time that I'm Loving It came out as a jingle with Justin Timberlake. Yeah. I would have preferred the creative to kind of go almost back to their old ads and have a bit of nostalgia about, do you remember that ad? Do you remember when that first came out with Justin? I remember those times. Do you remember when a cheeseburger was 10 krona? I think for me that would evoke more emotion, whereas at the moment it just feels a bit of a halfway house.
It might have been targeted at teenagers who wouldn't know that, but then they're not going to know Back to the Future either.
No. It's that balance of nostalgia and, going back to a time when things were relatively better. But for who, right? For my generation, great, I get it. But, a 16, 17-year-old, probably better sort of doing something that was, TikTok or Instagram based, to get that sort of attention and grab that audience, because I think those are the kind of the demographics that are frequenting McDonald's on a regular.
Do you think this is actually quite a smart use of a small budget?
We don't know. If it's worked, then yes. If it hasn't, then... But even Google Street View feels really old school for teenagers. My son's 17 and he ain't getting his phone out and snapping a picture of it. And he lives in McDonald's and he's not, because to your point, Tom, that's the budget he's on. He works 2 nights a week in a chippy and, that's his budget, is McDonald's and Greg's levels. But he's not, even to save money, he's not getting his phone out and going around looking for...
I think James said something interesting about it being some sort of data capturing exercise, right? I'm seeing a lot of that happening now. You go into the automated systems in the McDonald's and there's even got a, member logging now, right? So I'm like, member? I'm a member. You can be a member of McDonald's. I'm not sure what benefits you get other than, cheaper meals, but it is a data capturing exercise from what it looked like to me. But what they do with that data and how they're going to make use of it is, I'm not sure. It just felt very much like, let's get new people involved, and maybe they've got some ultimate big plan ahead that they're hoping to reveal in the next coming years. But at the moment, it was just a sort of a poor data capturing exercise activation, I think, at the moment.
Would you have signed off this campaign in its current form? Yes or no? 1, 2, 3. Well, I still think congrats to the agency. It's a very clever idea, but the panel were not impressed. We will see you all next week.